us be glad, let us be grateful, let us rejoicify that goodness can subdue the wicked workings of you know. Wicked for good. I had to wait a little bit longer than everybody else to see this iconic show because I was in Nigeria, in Ghana, and if you want to hear all about it, all I have to do is check out the December I Turned Dirty series right here on this channel. But right now, we're going to get into what I did go and do as soon as I came back to America, and that's go and see Wicked for Good. If you're new here, hi, I'm Charlize Martin, your Liberian American princess, and this is the LAP podcast. The power with this Glinda wand that I feel like I have. If you're watching the video version and not listening to me on Spotify or Apple Music, I am whipping around a Glinda wand with a tiara because I already have a corset that I got made for me in Liberia a couple of birthdays ago. My birthday is coming up, so if you want to hear and see all about it, definitely subscribe. Another call out moment. There's around 90% of you people that aren't subscribed. You'll be watching the channel and aren't subscribed. Hit the button. Boop, like the bubble, like Linda's bubble. Hit it. Tap that subscribe. Boop. Yeah. I covered part 1 already on this channel, but here is a quick synopsis. Wicked Part 1 follows Elphaba, a powerful but misunderstood young woman born with green skin, and her unlikely friendship with the popular but privileged Glinda at Chiz University. As Elphaba discovers her magical abilities, she becomes aware of the growing oppression of animals in Oz and believes the wizard can help stop it. When she finally meets the wizard, Elphaba learns he is responsible for the injustice. Refusing to support him, she is labeled a villain, while Glinda chooses safety and status within the system, becoming Glinda. The film ends with Elphaba embracing her power and defying Oz, setting her on the path of becoming the so-called Wicked Witch of the West. So part 2 starts automatically with a time jump of about 5 years, so everybody's graduated Chiz at this point, and we get right into a scene where they're building the yellow brick road, and it feels very much coinciding with how, not to get too political, but to get political, it feels like when and how the slaves build the White House for free, and how the animals are now basically doing slave labor with in chains, like they're in chains, being whipped. And then Elphaba, who is played by Cynthia Erivo, who has also played Harriet Tubman in a motion picture. Harriet releases the animals. That's how I instantly saw it. If we're not seeing the slavery parallels with Harriet Tubman herself releasing the animals, especially when we get into other scenes that go on within the film. Anyways, Glinda also becomes a public figure of good. So now not only is she Glinda, but now she's Glinda the Good. And there's posters all over Oz. There's pamphlets warning everybody of the Wicked Witch. There's definitely this propaganda happening with Glinda and everything being pink and blue and all of these bright pastel colors, and everybody saying and showing and reading her as being this good sorceress, this good witch. And then with Elphaba being this terror-stricken woman who is ready to set Oz ablaze. That's kind of the setup of the tension here. And Madame Morrible feels like some kind of like vice president to the wizard to me. Nessa becomes the governor of Munchkinland, and Fiyero is the head of the guard. So now we also have Oz that has created this bubble for Glinda with the wand that really sells it. It just does. It really does. She goes, boop, boop. She goes, what? I can't hear you in my bubble. And then she has to pop. Oh, it really sells it. We also have a flashback scene where Glinda is at her own birthday party and she's being gifted a wand. And when she's being gifted this wand, she tries to cast a spell and she says something magical will happen, and it doesn't. And then a rainbow appears outside, and the kids gather around and they're like, did you do that? And she alludes to the fact that she did, even though she knows that she didn't. And she's saddened by this. And her parents are like, but why aren't you happy? You got everything that you want. And she's like, but I'm not magical. But I don't have powers. I want to be a sorceress. And they're like, well, true power comes through people liking you. Your power is your popularity. And so we see this lesson happen with Glinda at a very young age, and it's definitely stuck with her from her time at school at Shiz University, her showing Elphaba everything of what it is and why it's so meaningful to be popular, and how popularity controls the politics of life and society and who they are, really. That's when we get into Thank Goodness. After the song, Elphaba appears in the sky and she writes, "The wizard lies, Madame Morrible," changes it in time to, instead of it saying the wizard lies, to Oz dies. And I'm not gonna lie, Elphaba is way too powerful to be using the one thing that Madame Morrible was good at, which is the weather, because she was able to use her powers against her and once again continue to cast doubt in the fact that Elphaba means good and means well for the people of Oz, not bad. We also have Fiyero here that's really uncomfortable with everybody really feeding into this whole Wicked Witch storyline. He doesn't buy it. He's frustrated with the fact that the Munchkins do. And he also doesn't really want to marry Glinda. This is when the announcement of Fiyero and Glinda getting married is made. And she's like, "You're happy, right?" And he's like, "I mean, I'm happy if you're happy." Could you imagine? I cannot. That is not a man that wants you. Next, we get into Nessa and Bach. So Nessa is dealing with a decision to take away the rights of animals, because even though she knows it's wrong, if she doesn't sign the bill, she'll be seen as being just like Elphaba, and she doesn't want to be seen that way. So he tries to take a train ride over, and that's when he finds out that Nessa has signed the bill. She's added a little something extra, that in order for Munchkins to leave Munchkin Land, it has to be authorized by the governor. So not only is transportation limited to the animals, but the Munchkins too. And I feel like this is a lesson in which that can also be taken for the real world, where it's a lot of times when things are happening to people that we don't think impact us, it can. For instance, the rights of undocumented immigrants are being challenged. Doesn't mean that it won't impact and affect legal immigrants in America. Doesn't mean that it won't impact people that are first generation. Doesn't mean that it won't impact people that are perceived to be immigrants. And a lot of parallels can be drawn with how legislation affects and controls the livelihood of the people that live within the society. What we do as people with the narratives that we're given, the control that we have and the power that we have systematically in voting power, in who we give our popularity to. When we make decisions and choose who leads our society, are these people that are looking out for our best interests, or are they only looking out for things that benefit them and them alone? Next, we get into what I'm calling the Underground Railroad scene, and it doesn't help that, again, Cynthia Erivo, who has played Harriet Tubman in a motion picture, is telling all of the animals who are trying to go through a secret passageway to safety to flee Oz. She's now telling them that there's no place like home and they should not go through the Underground Railroad, that they should stay in Oz. If we are not seeing the parallels of the animals being the slaves, I don't know what to tell you. As soon as I saw them going through that secret passageway, I was like, this is the Underground Railroad. The Cowardly Lion spills the tea on Elphaba and is just like, well, she released me from my cage when I was just a cub. And Elphaba's just like, you wouldn't be able to talk if I hadn't released you, which is very true. So after the call out happens from the Cowardly Lion, the animals continue to flee onto the Underground Railroad. She does have a touching scene with Dosa-Bear, and that's cute. Then we get into Elphaba visiting Nessa, and this is where we find out that their father passed away out of embarrassment, and she didn't help with the funeral and anything. But Elphaba is just like now that father's gone and you're the governor, this is a great opportunity to clear my name, save Oz, like take down the wizard, like let's get a move on. And her sister has never been on her side, for real. Like her sister has always played these societal like popularity politics games, and she has always seen Elphaba as an adversary. And so she's just kind of like, well, like, I know you have all these magical powers that I actually never wanted you to showcase in the first place. But since you have them, why don't you use them on me? And Elphaba is like, all right, well, let me try. And that's when she starts to make Nessa float from their mother's shoes. And as Nessa's floating, Bach comes in and starts confessing his love for Glinda. And Nessa casts a spell from the Grimoire, and Elphaba has to save the day, because when Nessa casts the spell, she's not doing it correctly because she's not pronouncing the words right. She's not as trained of a sorceress with this material, and a spell can't be reversed. So Elphaba then has to go into saving mode, and she turns him into the Tin Man. And I know that like Bach is upset by being turned into the Tin Man, but like, does he get that? Like, he would have died? Like, does he get that? I don't know if he does, for real. Like, next we have Elphaba heading to the wedding, and before she leaves, her sister calls her out like, you ain't running to go and save the wizard, you running to go and save your man because you want Fiyero, which I did appreciate that call out moment. It was ignored, but it did later come into fruition. So that's when we get our first Glinda and Elphaba scene, and I do kind of like that the way how this is written is that we get so much time apart from Glinda and Elphaba that it's like, honestly, we don't even know if they're friends anymore. Like, I don't know what the vibes are gonna be like, but Glinda's like, Elphaba, I know you're out there. So like, they're still friends, you know what I mean? Glinda kind of like already had this plot to bring her back into society, and she had this whole conspiracy going on with the wizard being like, why don't you just make friends with the wizard instead of trying to take him down? Because even if he does tell everybody the truth, no one will believe him, which is so sad that like, it's honestly facts. And that's when we get into Wonderful. The only thing good coming out of that song is the dance reprise with Glinda and Elphaba. That's really cute. And also the unlimited reprise. I really enjoyed like the scene with the lights and everything. I thought that was beautiful. So Elphaba's like, all right, I'll join you again if you set the monkeys free. That's the one thing about Harriet Tubman, I mean Elphaba, is that she is steadfast in her decision. So that's when Chistery lets Elphaba know that even though she thinks that like all of the animals are set free and all of the monkeys are free, the wizard has a secret dungeon of all of these animals, including the professor is there. That's where we find the goat from part 1. He's there and he can't talk anymore. And that's when Elphaba has that iconic scene where she just like looks at the wizard and goes, run. And she just releases all of the animals out into the wedding, ruining Glinda's wedding, but saving her man. So everything happens as it should. And we get this scene with Fiyero putting a gun on Elphaba, and he tells the guards to go and get a whole bunch of water. And then as soon as all the guards leave, he turns the gun on the wizard, puts him in a cage. That's when Glinda comes and she's like, what's going on here? Madame Morrible comes too. They're both confused. And that's when Fiyero says, I'm going with her. And Glinda's like, my gosh, all this time? Behind my back? You was with my man? That was never my man? Yes. So leaves with Elphaba. This is when we get the I'm not that girl scene. So good. The scenery, the crying, the way how she tilts her head. Gorgeous. Then we get Elphaba and Fiyero is ready to get down and dirty. We get the scene with her in her cardigan with the drenched over her shoulder, just as so. Okay. After this heartbreak, we also get Glinda telling Madame Morrible and the wizard to use Elphaba's sister. Like, she'll do anything for her sister. Like, tell her that her sister's in danger and that'll solve everything. And Madame Morrible, once Glinda leaves, is like, that's not enough. We're going to need to make things catastrophic. So Miss Girl, with the only power that she got, controls the weather, creates a tornado. In the middle of the one scene, of the one time of happiness in this girl's life, she starts getting visions that her sister's being killed by a tornado with a house, and she gotta go and find out, child. And she is in fact right with her vision. Nessa is dead. We get the Glinda now entering the story of the Wizard of Oz, telling Dorothy to follow the yellow brick road. And while she tries to show some moment of silence for Nessa, Elphaba comes and interrupts and says, like, can I, like, mourn my sister in peace? Like, can you, like, go away? And Glinda's like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. Like, I'll let you have your personal time. They end up getting into it, and they have, like, the funniest fight ever. And Elphaba starts using her powers. And then Glinda's like, no, don't be using your powers on me. Like, let's get into it. And they drop their weapons, and they start doing hand-to-hand combat. That's when the guards get involved. But then Fiyero sees that his girl is in danger, pulls that gun out on Glinda. Glinda's like, you doing this to me? You being weird to me? She's flabbergasted, right? Elphaba's like, what's going on? It ends up working. Glinda hands her back her hat, her grandma's hat. It says, you know what? It's okay, go. Elphaba flees to safety. As soon as Elphaba's gone, the guards take him. Glinda's like, no, it's okay. Like, he just loves her. They take him anyway. That's when we get no good deed, because she's like trying to save Fiyero and she can't save Fiyero. And she's like, I don't know if the spell even worked. Right after that, the wizard tells Dorothy to bring the witch's broom and kill the witches. That, I'm not gonna lie, this Kill the Witch song, I really like. I've been liking all the darkest songs. My favorite, like, song in part 2 is Kill the Witch. Like, that's like the one that, like, gets stuck in my head. It's just like the Kill the Witch, Kill the Witch. Why am I like this? And then, like, the beginning song for, like, part 1, like, that's like my favorite song. Like, that's like the one that, like, is continues to, like, play in my headphones. Like, I don't know why. Like, I just really like that melody. I think that's why it just gets stuck in my head and I enjoy it. Right after that, we get that chilling scene when Bach looks up at Glinda with a totally different lens. It's chilling. And right after that, it's followed by singing Girl in the Bubble, which is like a cute song. I felt like it was just a little too long. I really like the scenery of it, but I just felt like it just dragged on too long. I feel that way about both of the new songs. I like No Place Like Home just like slightly more, but still, I just felt like both songs could have been like 30 seconds shorter, and then I would have liked them more. Let's get into the scene between Glinda and Madame Morrible. Madame Morrible calls out Glinda, and she's just like, you knew what this was when you got into it. Don't be acting all cute. So Glinda, discovering the true wickedness of Madame Morrible, decides to finally come to the truly good side and help Elphaba. She finds Fiyero's horse and rides to the castle to go to Elphaba, while simultaneously Dorothy gets swept up by the monkeys and carried over to the castle as well. And she is immediately put in the dungeon and told that all she has to do is take off her sister's shoes and she'll let her go, right? And Glinda catches her doing this to Dorothy, and she's like, just let her go. And this is when we also get her response back. And she says, well, if everybody believes I'm wicked, then I'm going to truly be wicked now. While Glinda and Elphaba are having their conversation, that's when Chistery enters and flies in, giving Elphaba a piece of Fiyero's cloth. And I believe, and a lot of people believe, that this had a note in it telling Elphaba exactly what to do, telling her that he was still alive, that she just needs to fake her own death by pretending that water will melt her and hide under the barricade in the castle, and he'll get her once it's safe, and they'll go to the Underground Railroad together, right? And this is when we get For Good. So I've heard another podcaster talk about this, and I have a similar take where For Good, Glinda is really like saying this as a friendship song, and Elphaba is too, but in a completely different way. Elphaba understands that in order for her to truly be safe, she can't be friends with Glinda. She will always be in danger with Glinda. In order for her to be safe, in order for her to be happy, they can't be in the same world. because in her world, she's wicked. And we see Elphaba follow through with Fiyero's plan. He finds her, and even though Glinda in this scenario is under the assumption that both Fiyero, Elphaba are gone now, she was left with the Grimoire. Like, Elphaba gave her the Grimoire as a keepsake, and also with the understanding that she will do the work that it takes to truly be good. And that's exactly what she does. So with the help of the monkeys as her now army, she takes out the wizard and Madame Morrible. So she in fact does do what Elphaba was setting out herself to do. And so another message that is definitely continuously being talked about in our society, that is it better to fight from the inside or fight from the outside? Is it better to be a politician or is it better to be an activist? What gets the job done? What's going to create the outcomes that we want at the end? What's going to create the legislation that creates the change that we want to see in the world? How do we make that happen? Do we do the work from the inside or the outside? And you see this storyline taking place in Oz, with Glinda and Elphaba and that dynamic, and Elphaba having to flee for her own safety because of this. So Glinda is officially appointed Glinda the Good, and we start off right from the beginning. Elphaba and Fiyero are now alive and free. The Grimoire opens for Glinda, and we get one last moment with all of our main characters and Shiz together with the iconic Wicked poster, Glinda whispering in Elphaba's ear, and then roll credits. I thought that this was a great conclusion to an amazing project, and this is something that is very sacred for theater kids like me. And if you want to see me in action, I am an ensemble member in The Color Purple that will be shown at Union Arts Center next month in February, and tickets are going fast. We've already sold out our matinee, and it's crazy because we're still in practices. Like, we just started practice and we found out in our table read that one of the shows had already sold out. So it's very exciting. If you do want to come and see me in the New Jersey area live on stage, that's where I'll be. If you want to see the journey to me getting on stage, I will be taking on a series starting next week called Life of a Working Dancer. So you're going to see me from week 1 of rehearsals to week 2, all the way up to the stage, and hopefully I'll get to see you there. I will also be recapping RuPaul's Drag Race this season, so if you're into that, definitely hop on over to the LAP podcast. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you've been here already at the end, welcome to the Royal Village. Don't forget to leave this emoji in the comments. Give me a hype, give me a like, and don't forget to be the change you want to see in the world. Bye-bye.